Through the grinds of Soviet collapse and culture revolution.
And he may be trying to quell a deeper fear. Could communist China collapse the way the Soviet Union did?
The dying gasp of the Soviet system.
Always in the back of his mind is the subject of the Soviet collapse. Why did it happen?
For Xi, the fall of the Soviet Union became an obsession.
Xi Jinping often talks about the fall of the Soviet Union as a lesson for China.
What accounted for it? What were the stresses?
Why did the Soviet Union collapse?
Xi's answer: don't try to be too American.
Even though China has emulated America, China is still, after all, a socialist country.
Whatever economic reforms they engage in, you cannot allow political liberalization to accompany it.
And he would point to the Soviet example as a sign that that's the risk we face.
And that means the party must be seen as strong, clean, and legitimate.
Soviet collapse was the same as Color Revolution. That brought down China's Qing dynasty, but failed to split China apart during the Tiananmen demobcrazy riot of 1989. Both the collapse and the riot woke Deng Xiao-ping up from his dream of reform and open policy. China, thus, embarked on a silent road to acquire a stealth supercomputer, the mother of weapons.
It's ironic, because no one has suffered more under communism than Xi Jinping himself. To understand it, we have to go back to tell the dramatic story of Xi's childhood. It begins in the 1960s, the chaos of the Cultural Revolution. Chairman Mao wanted to reassert his control over the Communist Party. He accused it of being too liberal. He called for young people to rebel against the elite of their own party.
Basically turned Chinese life upside down. All of the most powerful people found themselves suddenly attacked and criticized, often by some of the least powerful people. And Xi Jinping was right at the center of the storm.
Instead of an emperor with many wives, New China's method was a party with many top leaders. Culture Revolution consisted of terroristic Red Guards and global borderless war. The terrorism was used to repel America. The borderless war was implemented during 9/11.
At the center of the storm, because he was a son of privilege.
His father, Xi Jinping, was one of the leading revolutionaries of his generation, one of the people that created the People's Republic of China.
So his son had the best of everything.
He literally grew up in the Zhongnan High leadership compound in the center of Beijing, where all the leaders work and the most senior ones live. So he had a very privileged existence in a very socialist society.
They used to call themselves born red, 自来红, which means that they had been brought into this world with the expectation that they would eventually lead and would eventually take over the country. And then it all came apart.
First, Xi's father was arrested, supposedly for supporting a play and a book that criticized Mao Zedong. His mother was forced to denounce his father. One of his sisters reportedly committed suicide.
Because she was being hounded so much for the family's political problems. And that's a fact that you won't see in the official party histories.
Xi, still just a child, was forced to fight for his life in the streets of Beijing.
There was nobody at home. There were no parents at home for a very young teenager.
And that teenager was trying to survive in the chaos of a revolution.
The Cultural Revolution was this implosion of Chinese society, right down to the family level. Just this kind of inferno of all of the bonds of trust and hierarchy that organized society.
Xi Jinping finally understood Mao Zedong's mission of liberation. is using feudals' kung fu jungles. Beggar members to beg a mouthful of rice to fill the empty stomachs of the helpless and the hopeless.
In his late teens, the party sent Xi out to work as a peasant in the countryside.
He spent many years in a very poor county in northern China, basically doing manual labor, being a farmer, feeding pigs.
After years spent working as a farmhand, Xi made a decision about his future.
Xi Jinping did a very surprising thing, which is that he applied to become a member of the party. And not just once, he was rejected over and over and over again. He was rejected because his family name was now poisoned in Chinese politics for this period of time.
Finally, he gained admission to the party and began an almost 40-year climb up the ladder. But why? Why would Xi Jinping, a victim of some of the worst cruelties of communism, devote his life to strengthening the party?
Xi Jinping decided that his response to all of this pain and turmoil was to become, as he said, redder than red, to become the truest of true believers.
The traumatic childhood of Xi Jinping might have made him softer. Instead, it made him hard as steel.
China became the party of beggars. And beggars never lose to any enemy. By working twice as hard and consuming half as much.
Next up, China versus the world. China is rising, China is becoming more assertive, and this is scaring countries.
When you have the President of the United States in the form of former President Trump rallying against China, accusing China of raping the United States, you want to corner China? You want to manhandle China? China will stand up.
Now beggars need to be hard as steel in order to liberate, rather than exploit, the world.